final little bits of snow are melting away. Zeus is on the case of, I have no idea what, but he's on the case, and that's what's important. Horsey check, I feel like I haven't done it in a little while. Had a great weekend. Live streams, 2 live streams, highly successful. Thank you, everybody. I think yesterday's live stream was the busiest so far. It's growing each time, it's nice. Probably helped for me to schedule it. Cleaned up this paddock and the other 2, 3 more. Look at them. Everything defrosted out. So this is just the morning. So now I can do a nice count and make sure everybody's healthy, eating properly, doing their thing. But getting rid of all that frosty stuff, all that frozen, built up stuff has been, yeah, satisfying. Where'd my dog go? He's already long gone. Springer's got a nice clean paddock. Ruli's got a nice clean paddock. And look at, it's kind of good, but not so good. But he just makes a mess where he just poops and eats. He's a very efficient horse. Very efficient. Luke here is not very efficient. He wanders off, poops a little here, poops a little there. Something to think about when you get a new horse. This is harder to clean up. Interesting note, we got some hay here. It's not really hay. It's actually mostly weeds. There's a whole flake that was just like this, and he wasn't touching his hay bag. Which is another thing that makes horsey check a really important thing to do often. Every day we're checking out our horsies. Oh, hit the camera. Hey buddy. What's happening? Not much, he's just eating. Hi Luke. Big sniff to the camera. Well, keep eating, buddy. When you're doing horsey checking, you're checking out whether or not they're eating along the way. And they're not. Once in a while, you find, because we put about 3 flakes in each bag, so sometimes that middle flake is garbage, or even a little bit more of the other one or something. And the whole flake was, flake and a half even probably, must have just been a patch of weeds in the field when it got bundled up, harvested. So anyways, check that out, look at it, replace it. So that's that. Everything's getting a little, look at this. What I really find interesting about winter ground is the way that holes get created, because there's water in there. It freezes and the ice expands. Water is the only thing on the planet that when you freeze it, it actually gets bigger. Anyway, so it pushes the ground up, makes holes in there, and then when it finally drains away, then you got land that hasn't filled back in. This thing is weird. This shelter is not square of any sorts anymore. See, I'll try to line the camera frame up there. You see how, hang on, I guess I better stand square to it. Nope, I go, yep, there, right there. So, oh, it's actually not too bad then, because the camera is self-leveling, so that's why you guys can see a level. The right side should be low. This side, hey buddy, did you find a bear? How about that shrew that we had over here somewhere? Anyhow, something's going wrong. It's not, I mean, the backboards are just way wrecked. Something happened back there. Snow load or something, you see. Anyways, that's why there's nobody in here. In case you're wondering, somebody wanted a little more info. What did you mean by that? Well, look at this. So, that's on the gotta fix it list. These two are doing great back here. Let's double check food. Did not get a chance to properly clean this area, or this paddock, along with Luke's actually. It's just spring cleaning. It's finally turned to, let's go this way. Here comes Lena. Finally got a chance to do some spring cleaning due to the hours of the days being a little longer. Not longer, but different. Hi, Lena, what's up? That was a fast arrival. Here comes your partner in crime. Hello, partner in crime. How's your day today so far? Stinks back here, you guys. Yeah, you should vary the places you go pee-pees. What? What? I don't know what you want. Actually, I do know what you want. All right, one little scratch and then we gotta go. Zeus and I are very busy today. Very busy. Oh my goodness. It rains Lena. Look. It's raining Lena. How's that feel? Not bad? She says keep going for the next 2 hours, would you? No, I will not. I've got things to do. What else was I gonna tell you guys? Interesting stuff. Arena looks good. No trees have fallen on it yet, so that's nice. Okay, well, let's get on with things. Need some tools, coffee, and a dog. Hopefully he keeps up with me. He's coming. And it's horsey check for now. I do have a plan today. It's supposed to rain though, so we'll see what happens. See, it's pretty cloudy. Gray skies today. That's okay, a little rain never hurt anybody, but it does inhibit things outdoors. The pond is still mostly frozen, if you're wondering. But the mouths, is the inlet and outlet both called a mouth? Anyways, they're defrosting. The rest is just a big hunk of ice. I'm looking forward to seeing what the goldfish are doing. I had a dream about them. It was really weird. They were alive. I can't remember the rest. Okay, we're moving on. Next live stream is coming up. I was thinking of doing one on Mondays, but then it would be Sunday or Saturday, Sunday, Mondays. So I don't think I'll do one today. Definitely Thursday. I'll announce. I think I've announced 10 o'clock time for Thursdays. Where's my dog? Zeus, what happened? You were cruising pretty good for a second there. Okay, I'll see you guys in a little bit. We got to take off. Help a couple horses out. Oh yeah, and I need my tools. Yeah, so I'll see you a little later. Okay, let's get some tools. It's one of those things, one of those days. It's just starting to rain and everything as well. Drill, level, screws. It's been a busy morning, early afternoon. I'm here going to try to do something about stuff about that back shelter. I don't know if I'm gonna need gravel, so I'm bringing the gator. I'll chuck a shovel in there just in case I gotta move some stuff around. Ooh, it's just starting to rain. Okay, well, let's go assess the problem, figure out exactly what's going on. So we need to know what's going on with this, and I think I have a feeling a little more after looking at it a bit of what could be going wrong. So let's bring you guys back here somewhere and I'll talk you through the troubleshooting process of figuring out why a shelter is messed up. Okay, so this shelter was built sort of free form. It's not anchored into the ground in case we ever had to move them or something like that. Being in this space gives me an idea. I think I know more what's going wrong than I was able to look at earlier. I do know that the backboards are failing a little bit, which means that the roof can sag downwards more. So why that's happening, not entirely sure. Over time, screws can fail, things can kind of go wrong. So you really want to take a look at your fencing, you want to take a look at your shelters, your buildings regularly to see if there's something bad happening. So first thing I want to do is I want to see where I'm level and plumb. So that there is pretty good, and I'll show you what I mean, what I'm doing. This is called a level. We're trying to figure out whether or not this thing is good and straight the way we built it. So that's not too bad. You can see the bubble is in the middle. Let's check the other posts. So that's not bad at all for a shelter. Let's check up high. All right, bubbles in the middle, so that's good. Check the other side. Not bad, right? Camera won't focus, but it's good. Okay, so I think I'll show you what's happening here. So if we put this on here, we could see that the bubble, come on camera, do your thing. Okay, so now we can see the bubble is way off. If I move this over here, then it comes back to center, somewhere around there. So if we check the other side as well, it should give us the same problem. There we go. So same thing. If I move the bottom, it tells us that this post is leaning that way. The whole thing is off. So since we know that, we then know how we can fix it. Since we have an idea now that this thing is not, it's not doing this or this. I don't believe it's twisting per se. The roof should hold that together, but it is kind of doing this that way. So we need to bring it back upright and then solidify it from there. So before it gets too rainy, let's do that. And the way we're going to do that is with straps. So hang on a second. Okay, first step, get some straps on. But the step before that, because I'm going to attach it to that top board, I'm just going to put in a few more screws to be sure. So, need a ladder. Okay, we also need to drill in screws. So let's solidify it a little bit more. I'm using 3-inch screws. Should be pretty good. Where did it go? Keep track of your screws. You never know when you're gonna drop one. Just make sure to find them. Good. Okay. All right, with my straps put in place. Now, if I didn't have a tree here, I'd probably just use the gator or something. But I have a tree here. All right, now ratchet straps are great for this purpose. So what we do is, show you here, is essentially get this set up to be able to pull the slats. So what we want to do is the ratcheting like so, and then this just kind of winds itself on. You can see that? And you just ratchet it up. Okay, so I've got it to a pretty good tight position. As I ratchet it, we're going to keep an eye on what happens with the whole shelter. So this is how it's going to work. Yeah. Okay, how are we doing? I'm almost there. Whew. Maybe one more click. Okay. Oh, that's good. Okay, let's talk about this just a little bit. Now, because the whole shelter is sort of leaning back a little bit, it's important that we set it up to be plumb again. And one of the things that we can know about whether or not the shelter itself is sinking is measuring the cross beams here, whether or not they actually match up height-wise, which I know they do because that's how we installed them. So if this cross beam was not level, like it was lower there or lower there, then we'd know that part of the shelter is sinking, but it isn't. We also should be able to determine, if I get up on a ladder, we should be able to determine the top beam. So I'm just going to double check that while we're doing this. Okay, so let's talk about things being level and plumb. So I have always known, actually, and this has confirmed it, that this side of the shelter, the right hand side, has been sinking a little. Not a lot. It's not much at all. Maybe an inch or two at most on the right hand side, but it's pretty evenly sinking because both these cross beams here are good. Now that I've got it, you know, pretty good this way, it's not perfect. I doubt that's going to come into focus. It's not completely perfect. In fact, I think I might give it another click. This side's really good, if you can see. Okay, I can't be patient to wait for the camera to... So that side's still a little off. I think we'll give it one more click and then we'll call that probably pretty good. And then we need to reinforce the whole thing. So let's get back to that. Okay, everything's looking good. I've done the setting things up. Now we need to look at structurally what's going on. So how did it break? So right here, we've got some separation. And let's see. Yeah, it's not bad, see? Yeah, so then the back piece also is failing. So we need to fix that. And up in there. Right in there. So we wouldn't want to fix this without making sure that it's standing correctly. So at this point now, we can start to work on this back area here, making sure that it is all secure and properly put together. Okay, let's do this. Okay, let's do the next little chitty chat. So with this jacked up, and if this were to fail while I'm working, in theory, this 2x6 should catch the roof and hold it just fine. So what I'm going to do next is I need to squeeze the top of this post over more. So we're going to get another strap to get that done. Okay, so the strap's installed, but if I go to try to squeeze these posts together while all the screws are in, it's not going to go well. So we have to remove the screws from one side. It turns out these screws are broken, so screw removal was kind of unneeded. more thick. All right, after some messing around there, so you can see now we're back to being not only flush against the other board, but I've also adjusted the height to be just right. So then we'll have one board, this board, the front board, in place on one corner, and then we need to fix the other corner. So let's screw this sucker in. We need a clamp. Okay, so a clamp is going to make sure that we can keep the board on the post while we screw it. So alright, finicky little detail I'll tell you guys about. It's the reason why you carry at least 2 clamps with you. But if you'll see, maybe we can see it from this angle. Let's see here. Do you see how up inside? See? Okay, so like that. Alright, so you see how on the bottom it's tight, but the top it isn't? That could be a warp in the board, or it could just be resisting moving over because there's still a load of the roof on that piece. So we're going to use a second clamp and tie in the top. Being picky. It's going to take a little while. So there we go. We're tight up at the top. This may or may not focus. Yeah. Right there. So that's pretty darn good. We're going to screw that in. That's one corner. Okay, let's reset the other corner. This one here, it's close, but I'm just going to reset it a little, I think. Now I believe that I have significantly bolstered the inside cross beam, which essentially is part of what holds up the roof. Currently what's holding up the roof more than anything is this thing, this 4x4 and jack. So I'm going to rest the roof back down onto that cross beam now and see how it goes. It's all good. I'm going to re-put the screws back into the joists. Okay, that's the inside one complete. It's starting to rain again. Now the problem here, so we're not done, not even done by a long shot. We need to fix the outer cross beam. You should always have two of these things. We also need to probably get that in a little tighter there. I'll have to clamp that and pull it in. The other one's fine. But there's a twist in that post that we can sort of force to twist back. But anyways, okay, so now we got to do the outer edge. And again, it'll be about sort of lifting up the roof a little and then pushing the whole thing up, because you can see here that it's pretty wrecked. So, no problem. Let's get her done. Okay, the process for the outer one is the same as the inner one. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that, and then I'll show you the result. I hear somebody's voice. Okay. Okay, quick tip if you're working alone, you can get these types of clamps that you just squeeze them and they close up. Handy if you need something held and you are working on your own. I need something held. This piece. So I'm going to temporarily put that there while I go figure out the rest, but at least it's, well, I don't know, let's see. Alright, let's go figure out what's going on the other side. Okay. Well, I'm not done, but I've done, I mean, it's raining, so it's get wet season out here. Oh, but check it out. Those top beams are now in place, solid, looking sharp up there. Yeah, I don't know if you can see that. Anyways, they are. This couple of clamps that I use, like I said. Oh, come on, camera. There you go. You can use those when you need to squeeze stuff in. Get a good bond for the wood. So it's looking good. Everything's looking much better up there. I reinforced it all, and it's time to get something warm to drink, dry off, and tomorrow I'm going to finish up the reinforcement cross pieces or angled pieces that will stop it from skewing, like coming forward more. I'm going to bolster those up a bit since this shelter seems to want to come this way for whatever reason. Okay, that's it for just right now. I'll be back. Whew. All right, everybody, let's talk about what's going on today. We're talking horse property maintenance, which I suppose is probably maintenance for any house, yard, building, business, around. But when it comes to horses, I mean, you're maintaining a lot of stuff that is outside, subject to the elements, subject to horses pushing and pulling and rubbing and doing all kinds of things that maybe you wouldn't have in a normal situation like the inside of your house where you're just using it. So in this situation, the shelter was determined a while back that it looks a little wonky. It doesn't look like it's solid. Let's chuck the horses out, put them somewhere else, and then get on with working on it because we're going to need the paddock. Things are getting busier, getting a lot more phone calls and stuff like that. So today was that. So assess it, figure out that there's something wrong, what's wrong, and then go about fixing it. And you may find, you might not have the right answer right away. You might not fix it perfect the first time. Things like that. I wouldn't want you, if you were going to get into the process of having your own place and building your own place and maintaining your own place, that you've got to be, you got to get it all right from the get-go. Nobody does, unless that happens to be what you've done in your life. Like build things and buildings and stuff and whatever. That's not my life. I do know a heck of a lot because I had a really good teacher for a while, and I built a reasonable amount of things, I guess you could say. So measuring and cutting and putting things together is not a problem. Fixing them, on the other hand, sometimes requires some real critical thinking. You're kind of wondering, what do we do here? What's the process? First thing, obviously, in the shelter situation, fencing's easy, obviously. Put the post back, put the board back on, make sure everything's good, whatever the case may be. But buildings and the shelters and stuff become a whole different story. So we got most of it done today, and once you've figured out what's going on, you start to work on it. So that'll vary for each time. There could be a problem with the roof. There could be a problem, the joists are failing, something's cracked or broken. One of the posts. I mean, you can travel around to all kinds of barns and stuff out there, and you'll find horses chew on things a lot. And the the problem there is that usually they're chewing on the posts that are holding up, everything else. I mean, I've seen some places where there's nothing. Or actually, another case where, the wood has gone all the way to the ground, and maybe it wasn't treated wood in the beginning. Maybe it was a 6x6, who cares? But it's all rotten now. In many cases, you have to redo the footing, like the small barn that we have. So anyways, okay, let's talk about the final thing that needs to be done. So the roof is now solid. The back two support beams are solid. The whole thing is back to not being skewed, but it's being held up by a big long strap. So last thing we have to do, and I'm not doing it today because I don't have the material for it, but let's see if I can draw something on paper. So what we have here, okay, I'm going to draw, the first thing is going to be the shelter, and I will exaggerate the problem at first. Bear with me while I draw a terrible picture, but hopefully it'll be obvious. Right, so if we look at something like that, and hopefully the camera is going to focus on it, but we've got the shelter and it's leaning that way. What do I do? That's a terrible arrow. It's leaning backwards, right? So the roof is up top, obviously the floor is there, and then it's leaning that way. So we want to stop that skew from happening. Now, what we do first, fix it so that it's not skewed, put everything back together, make sure screws aren't broken. Usually when something like this happens, screws break everywhere. Snap, 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 all over the place. Screws aren't that strong. If you wanted to use lag bolts and things like that, those are much stronger. Probably a really good idea to use in most cases. Not all though. I mean, a lot of these shelters are put together with nails. So, okay. So to bring this back, what we need to do is essentially to stop the skew of a square. You make an X, right? But we can't make an X. If we made an X, the horses wouldn't be able to get out. So instead of making an X, we need to brace the front post and the back post to the cross beam. So essentially what we're doing is I'm going to take a larger cross section of this. I'm drawing over top of my other drawing. So up here is the roof, and then this is the cross beam, and maybe this is the back post, and there's a front post up here maybe. Okay, what we need to do is we need to make some pieces that will go like that and like that. Make sense? So what will happen is this, when this thing wants to skew, it has to push against the support that's actually held here. And it's that simple. That's why those pieces are you usually see them there on things like that. So I do know that there's already a bit of a warp to the whole thing. I'm holding it up at the moment. So I do know that I'm probably going to have to bolster more than I've done the other ones. The other ones all have 2x4s. The other kind of solution for this is why our other shelters generally don't have, is because the posts were cemented right into the ground. So they're not going to tend to both move. But this is a freestanding shelter. So to have it support itself, you got to have sort of these 45-degree support pieces in place. I'll be doing that tomorrow. Anyway, so that's it for today. Thank you very much for watching and hanging out with me, checking out what we're up to. So many things. I've got this to do tomorrow for sure. This will be probably one of the first things I do. And I'll bring you guys along in the part 2 of this. And then from there, I think it's supposed to be kind of decent. It's super rainy now, which is why I was all wet. I had to dry, get something warm. So, I will see you guys again tomorrow. So thank you for watching again. And thanks to everybody again for all the, participation and joining up with our live stream. It was a heck of a lot of fun to do. Working with Gracie. She's a champ. Really good horse. So, all right. That's it for now. See you guys tomorrow.